for the first time. I was given quite a lengthy list of questions to try and address, I think all of us first years, about who we are and how we got here, so I hope that I'm able to do that and not be too long-winded, which is something I'm a little prone to do. So my name is Kate Trigger Duffert. I am a first year in the MDiv program, and I most recently came from Decorah, Iowa. I went to college at Luther College in Decorah, Iowa, had moved away for a few years and was working there for 3 years before deciding to come here. And one of the questions that was posed to us was, there are challenges in getting to seminary, and what are some of those challenges, and how did you overcome them to get here? And I would say that the biggest challenge, and I'm hoping I'm not alone in saying this, was probably myself in getting here. That I spent a long time not totally understanding where some of the things in my life were coming from. And some reference for that, I'm a double PK. Both of my parents are Presbyterian ministers. They came here to seminary in the mid-90s. So I grew up on campus, actually, which was fun and is weird now because I'm in an apartment that looks exactly like the apartment I was in when I was 4 and had chickenpox. So it's interesting. But my entire life, my parents have been employed by the church in one capacity or the other. Summer vacations were always trips to General Assembly. So when I think about family trips, that's what I have, is sitting in the back and watching meetings. So my life has largely been heavily entrenched in the Presbyterian church specifically. And when I went to college, I went to a Lutheran school, which was the first sort of mirror that held up to myself and said, oh, there's something different out here in how some people do faith. And I went into school thinking I am going to be a theater performer. That is my thing. I love performance. I love acting. Awesome. And really quickly got sucked into theater for social change and looking at how you can use performance as an opportunity for empathy and building communities. And ended up tagging on a religion minor and then a classical studies minor. And when I left school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had what I thought were 3 useless degrees. And I moved up to Minneapolis and spent 2 years there in Minnesota in AmeriCorps. And I was doing a program where I worked with youth who had disabilities in highly impoverished areas of the town, particularly in North Minneapolis, which if you've heard anything about it in the past few years, recently there have been a lot of protests and violence related to racial discrimination. But even just a few years ago, they were also hit with this huge tornado and had very little support for rebuilding that neighborhood. So there's just a ton of issues that need to be addressed that aren't being addressed. So I had this really unique opportunity to dive into that. When I left that program, I thought, oh my gosh, I still don't know what I want to do. And received a phone call one day that offered me the chance to come back to work at my alma mater in student programming and fundraising. And that's where I ended up for 3 years and was shoved into a lot of leadership building opportunities, which was really great. And I thought, oh, this is wonderful. I'm building my skills. And I just kept feeling like I was being pulled into what seemed like a void, that there was something that wasn't there that I was trying to figure out. And I kept hearing in these leadership seminars, you should do the things that time flies by when you're engaged in them. Go towards that. If you feel like time is flying by, then you love it. And I just kept realizing that it was probably a sign that something that I actually enjoyed where time was flying by was reading theology, because people don't do that. Normal people, it seems like, don't just sit and time flies by as they're reading theologians. And I started to see these other little snippets of things that had been consistent throughout my life that I began to realize were not things that I had maybe dismissed as having parents that were pastors or growing up in the church, but were really more God playing a role in my life. That I had been put in a position where I was able to learn how the church works, and I was able to be embedded with deep values of social justice and action, and feeling that was rooted in my faith. And I started to see connections between the storytelling I was doing in fundraising and the storytelling I had been doing in theater. And all that sort of brought me to this place where I thought, okay, yeah, I need to do something with this and answer this call. I ended up here at Louisville because of a few reasons. One, I was familiar, and so it instantly was at the top of my list because as someone who's moved around a lot as a PK, there's something appealing about familiarity at this point in my life. But the thing that really sold me was an admissions piece that came out, actually, so Go Admissions and Marketing, that said a phrase on the front about building bridges. And having worked in higher ed, there are a lot of institutions that maybe have a mission statement that they don't really live out, or they have an idea of what they want to do, and students get some sort of experience, but the institution itself doesn't reflect it in a lot of ways. And so I saw that building bridges thing, and I thought, okay, we're not just building bridges between people, but we're building bridges between our theology and what we do. And I saw that in so many ways in this institution, not just the emphasis on examining racial injustice, which I think is huge and so relevant, and I'm so excited to be in a community that's having that conversation, but also the Covenant for the Future program, which obviously is a financial blessing, but also shows how much the seminary believes in our theology in action, and that this is something, providing for others and enriching education and creating our communities is something that this place values. So that really drove me here. Let's see, I don't want to miss anything. Where do I hope to serve? So I have 3 years, so there's a lot of development that I think is going to happen. I'm that person who's terrified of CPE for 2 reasons. One, I'm worried that I won't enjoy it, and I'm also worried that it's going to totally change everything and I won't be prepared for it. So we'll see what happens. But right now, my sense of call is sitting in this world of being a bridge builder, and that I hope to work ideally for the national offices or the denomination and doing some sort of work that helps us to take that theology and put it into action, whether or not that's mission agency work, whether or not I pull in that fundraising, or it's something related to the General Assembly. That's something that I think is really important and that I value. So I'm hopeful that that continues to build, and I'm open to it being totally thrown out and changing. So. And then briefly, I'll just say family. So I have a husband who came along with me. He's somewhere right now. I don't know what he's doing. And we have 2 animals. We have a very spunky dog and a very sleepy cat. So my life is not nearly as busy with children, but it's nice to have them here. It's nice to be on a campus community that really is fostering all of us getting to know each other, and all of our families kind of becoming one big, happy family. So we're all really enjoying ourselves, and I'm just happy to be here and happy to be able to be here with you today and know that we're in this with you. So.